Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rokai's Raid Guides, where today we are going over the first boss in Terrace of the Endless Springs, the Protectors of the Endless. Now, stop what you're doing. Extremely important disclaimer, this is not the elite mode. This guide will be going over the easiest way to kill this boss and will not be rewarding the extra item level loot. I will be doing a separate video on the elite mode, which you need for the achievement and the higher item level loot. So, this is the easiest way to kill the boss. This is not the elite version. Don't yell at me later if you're not paying attention. With that warning out of the way, the easiest way to take down this boss will be killing in this specific order. So you're going to kill Protector Kowolan first, Regail second, and Asani third. Each time you kill one of these bosses, it empowers the other two bosses that are left on the field. So we'll talk about the empowerments of each specific mechanic later. The most important part of this fight is actually this ad that you see over on the right-hand side of the screen that will be constantly spawning throughout the entire fight. I would say that this is the most difficult mechanic, and it requires the most pre-planning and organization, but if you can manage to properly rotate your players through killing this ad, the rest of the fight should be relatively easy. So we'll talk about that first. What this is very simple. It's one ad that spawns every couple of seconds that just runs towards the bosses. If it reaches the boss, it will increase that boss's damage by 10%, stacking up to 5 times. However, reaching 5 stacks is an instant wipe. More or less, never let the ads reach their target. Secondly, they are able to be slowed, but no other form of CC works. When the ad dies, what will happen is that the nearest two players to that ad when it dies will gain a damage amp. They gain 10% damage that stacks up to 10 times. Now, just like the boss mechanic, this has a cap. If you reach 10 stacks on a single player, you instantly wipe the raid. The best way to handle this is going to be assigning teams of 2 to be nearest to the ad when it dies. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be the person that's actually doing the killing of the ad, just the nearest 2 people. So, for example, a way we often handle this is having a hunter or an Ellie Shaman easy to switch target ranged player actually killing the ad, but then moving to melee out right before it dies to be nearest to the target. We found that to be easiest. Regardless, the most important part is making sure it dies before it reaches the boss, and second, making sure you have the correct 2 people nearest to it when it dies. Lowest priority are your tanks and healers for obvious reasons. Highest priority, I would say, are going to be your ranged DPS. The easiest way to do a rotation for this would just be get 3 stacks per team and then switch to the next team. Clearly, we didn't do that on this kill, but do as I say, not as I do. We learned our lesson. This is very sloppy and disorganized. I can assure you, teams of 2, switch every 3 stacks is going to make this a lot easier than what we're making it look like on this pull right here. Now, that is by far the most difficult part of the fight, and if you can manage to organize that rotation and killing the ad effectively, the boss mechanics here are very simple. So, that wraps up everything about the ad. Let's talk about each boss specifically. So, the boss you're going to kill first is Protector Kowolan when doing what we'll call easy mode. When doing it in this order, he only has one ability. Simply put, every 30 or so seconds, Touch of Shaw will go out on one player on the raid. This is a dot that will never go away until Kowolan dies. So it does about 120k damage every 3 seconds to any player that it is on. And again, new players are added every 30 seconds. So the longer you're in this first phase, the more damage your raid will be taking. That's why you kill this boss first. If you leave him alive for the entirety of the fight and kill him last, you'll have this dot on the entire raid, making it infinitely more difficult to heal through, and also the boss would gain additional mechanics. When killing Kowolan first, this is literally the only mechanic he does. Touch of Shaw, a dot that lasts until he dies every 30 seconds on a new player. That dot ticks every 3 seconds. You can completely ignore this mechanic and single down the boss. Thankfully, Kowolan's not doing a whole lot during this part of the fight. It's basically a single target fight right now. However, the boss you need to be worrying about is Asani. This boss, throughout the entire duration it's alive, will be casting one ability called Water Bolt that must be interrupted. It's going to require, in 10-man, 3 players in a rotation to get every single cast. If a cast goes through, it will hit a random player in the raid for a large amount of damage, but also hits any other player near them, so it does splash damage within 3 yards of its target. So stopping this water bolt is extremely important to just reduce the amount of damage the raid is taking as a whole. And again, a 3-player rotation will be required for the entirety of the fight. So Asani is the last boss that you'll kill when using this strategy. My recommendation here, if you have 3 melee, assign all 3 melee to specific interrupts, have them set Asani as their focus, and just use a focus interrupt for the entire fight. We had this with a rogue, a warrior, and a windwalker. Made it very simple for us. Also a good idea to set backups. Another thing to point out, you can see above Asani's raid frame, we used a weak aura for an interrupt rotation where it just showed the number above the head. Interrupt 1, now it's showing interrupt 2, which we know is already assigned to one of our players, and then interrupt 3. And then after the third kick goes out, it'll reset back to 1. That weak aura is publicly available on Wago. Just look up interrupt rotation. You'll very easily be able to find it. It made things a lot easier for us and for the players responsible for getting interrupts, just as a small tip. Skipping back in the fight just a little bit, only one other mechanic happening from the third and final boss, Regail, are 2 lightning mechanics. The first is a lightning bolt, which can be completely ignored. It only hits one of the tanks. The second is a mechanic called Lightning Prisons. As you can see here, the mechanic actually just went out. It is a dispel that will go onto 2 targets. So 2 people will be selected by Lightning Prison. They need to run out of the raid. They will then get stunned by the Lightning Prison, get dispelled by the healers, and then run back in. This happens about every 20 seconds or so, and you can see it's coming out in 2 more seconds. I'll show you examples here on screen so that you can see it more clearly. But Lightning Prisons will go out now. I run out of the raid. I'm going to get stunned, dispelled by a healer, come right back in. And that's it. After defeating one of the protectors, the remaining 2 will gain 1 stack of Shaw of Corruption, which unlocks a new ability for each boss. So you can actually see the unlocked ability for the lightning boss Regail here, which is this lightning field. Similar to dodging on Ragnaros in Firelance, this will be a pulsing and huge amount of damage for anybody left in that glowing field each time it happens. This is the only added mechanic for Regail, and it's relatively simple to dodge. Just pay attention to the timer and be ready to move. Now, just like during phase 1 when all 3 bosses were alive, you are still going to continue to have that kick rotation on the water boss Asani, where it's going to be a rotation of 3 interrupts on the water bolts for the entirety of this phase. Now, as you can see, dodge out, dodge back in. You can ignore the rest of the mechanic as it continues to pulse wider and wider. It's a very simple movement. Now, looking to Asani and the abilities added to that boss. Asani will have 2 added mechanics. The first is called Corrupted Waters. You can see it's 3 seconds away on our raid timers here. This is an orb that spawns basically at the boss's location that needs to be killed. So when this spawns, everybody will hard switch to it and kill it as quickly as possible. An added bonus for killing the Corrupted Waters is that anybody within 15 yards of the Corrupted Waters will then gain a buff. More or less, it's like a Bloodlust. Spellcasting increase, haste increase, melee swing speed increase. You're going to want as many people as possible within 15 yards of the Corrupted Waters as you kill it. Jumping back just a little bit, Asani does have one other mechanic that does exist in the first phase that I forgot to mention. So quick disclaimer here, it will be a dispellable buff called Cleansing Waters that could go on one of the bosses. Whichever boss that is on, it will heal them for 5% of their health. It just needs to be purged off. So Cleansing Waters will happen during the entirety of the fight. People with purges, spell steals, mass dispel, things of that nature, pay attention to the Cleansing Waters timer and just purge it off of whatever boss it goes on to. Lastly, when you're down to just Elder Asani left, she will gain 1 more stack of that Shaw Corruption and gain 1 new ability. This one is one that can be ignored as you can't do anything about it. It is just ramping raid damage. You can see it being cast very quickly on the raid called Overwhelming Corruption. This is just ticking damage on the entire raid for the remainder of the fight. You are going to want to save Bloodlust for this moment and just burn the boss. The other mechanics do remain that she was doing previously, so interrupting Water Bolt, purging Cleansing Waters, and killing any Corrupted Waters that might spawn to gain that extra buff. Now, That covers everything you need to know to down this boss on the heroic version, but reminder, this is easy mode. So I will be doing a separate version on the elite difficulty where you have higher item level loot, added mechanics, and a different boss kill order. Until then, if you have questions on how to do this on easy mode, drop them in the comments below. Thanks a ton for your support on the other guides, and I look forward to putting out the next couple to get you guys prepped for Terrace as soon as possible.